Last week we looked at what happens if every quarterback went to the team they beat the most. Now we're gonna do the opposite. If you can't beat them, join them. We're gonna see what happens if every quarterback goes to the team they've lost to the most. Now we're only using starting quarterbacks in this video. This does include the playoffs. We're also only counting losses in games they started and played the majority. And if there is a tie, the first tiebreaker will be the lowest winning percentage in the games against those teams. And if that doesn't break the tie, then the point differential in those losses will be used. We begin with the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams is 0-2 against two teams in his short career. So since he has the same win percentage against both teams, the Lions and Vikings, we have to use point differential. He's -20 in the games against the Lions and -21 in the games against the Vikings. So he's headed to Minnesota. Now we're headed to Cincy to look at Joe Burr. And this team has just had his number. Like, there's no other way to put it. Staying in the division, looking at the Baltimore Ravens, who he's lost 6 times to. Now we're headed to Buffalo, looking at Josh Allen. On the Bills, this one is a tie. He has 5 losses in games he started and finished against the Patriots and the Chiefs. But he's played 13 games against the Patriots and only 9 games against the Chiefs. So he has a worse winning percentage against Kansas City. So Travis Kelce has a new QB1. Bo Nix in his rookie season has 2 losses to a division rival, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. So he's headed to LA. We have yet another tie when looking at famous Jameis. He has 7 losses in games he started against the Panthers and his old team, the Saints. But he's played 10 games against the Saints and 11 against the Panthers. So he has a worse win percentage against Nolans. So yeah, he's back on his former team. And speaking of former teams, well, Baker used to play on that team we just looked at, the Browns. And when he was there, he had quite a few losses to a certain team, the Ravens. 7 to be exact. He's headed to Baltimore. Certain teams just have your number. And for Kyler, I mean, all you have to do is look at that playoff game he had against this squad. Like, that should tell you all you need to know. He's headed to Los Angeles. 9 losses against the Rams. I was kind of shocked that Herbert has lost this many times to this team we're about to trade him to. I feel like every time they play, it's always a close game, but the Chiefs have beaten him 7 times in his career. He's headed to Kansas City. Speaking of Kansas City, beating Mahomes is not for everybody, okay? Only certain teams can do it, okay? And credit to this team. They've beaten him the most out of anyone in his career. Buffalo. Now, granted, a lot of them, actually all of the wins against him have been in the regular season, but still, 4 losses to the Bills. Mahomes is going there. Anthony Richardson in his short career has 2 losses against a division rival. That is another young quarterback's team, the Houston Texans. That's where Richardson's gonna go. Speaking of young quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels. This guy is very tough to beat. So I'm pretty proud of my team for being able to beat him not only once, but twice. More than any other team could say in his career so far. He's headed to Philly. Staying in the NFC East, you already know Dak Prescott hasn't had the best games against the Packers. Last time in the playoffs, you know, he had a stinker versus them. And he's actually lost to them 5 times, more than any other team, yes, including his division rivals. I was shocked, but he's headed to Green Bay. Looking at Tua Tagovailoa's game logs, I was pretty surprised that he's damn near undefeated against 2 division opponents. Like, I'm pretty sure he hasn't lost against the Jets or the Patriots, but cannot say the same for the Buffalo Bills, man. 7 losses to them. And I'm sure if you're a Dolphins fan, you already knew that. Like, I'm an Eagles fan, I already know where Hurts was gonna go before I even looked it up, because this team always gives us problems. The Buccaneers, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they always beat us for whatever reason. Jalen is headed to Tampa Bay. 4 losses against them. We're gonna look at Kirk Cousins when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, since Penix hasn't really played that much. Now, back when he was in the NFC East, Kirk used to lose to this team a lot, okay? 9 losses to the Dallas Cowboys. It may have been a down season for Brock Purdy, but his win-loss record is still really good. He only has 2 losses versus the Chiefs, Vikings, and Rams. He's 1-2 against the Rams, 0-2 against the Chiefs and the Vikings, so it's a 2-way tie. And we had to use the worst point differential. He's a -11 against the Vikings, -13 in those 2 games against the Chiefs. So he's headed to Kansas City as well. I don't know how many quarterbacks this is that the Chiefs are about to get, but Drew Lock is going back to his former division. 4 losses against the Chiefs. I don't know if they'll be able to keep all these quarterbacks on the roster. Finally, we're sending a quarterback to a different team. Trevor Lawrence is going to stay in the division. He has 5 losses to Houston. Will Aaron Rodgers follow the same path that Brett Favre did? I mean, he went from the Packers to the Jets. And if you remember, Favre went back to the NFC North later in his career. So is Rodgers. He has 11 losses to the Vikings. So he's going to finish his career out in Minnesota. Goff has won a lot in his career. Like, he's been to what? 1 Super Bowl, multiple NFC championship games. So I was pretty shocked the number was this high in terms of losses against a certain team in his former division. San Francisco 49ers, 7 to be exact. He's going back to the NFC West. Now Jordan Love has 1 win, 3 losses against both the Lions and Vikings. So he had to use point differential in those losses. He was a -18 against the Vikings and a -27 against the Lions. So even though they lose Goff, they get Jordan Love in return. As good as Bryce was playing in the second half of last season, he was not able to come away with the W. The Buccaneers have beaten him 4 times in his young career. He's going to Tampa Bay. We got ourselves another tie when we look at Drake May. He's 0-1 against multiple teams, so we have to use point differential. He lost by 13 to the Cardinals, 20 to the Texans, by 1 to the Colts, 16 to the Jags, 19 to the Dolphins, 6 to the Rams, by 3 to Tennessee. And then by far his worst loss came against this team, 33 to the Los Angeles Chargers. He's staying in the AFC. Another quarterback that's going to stay in the AFC and return to his former division. Gardner Minshew Mania is going to be taking over Houston.
He has 4 losses to them.
Now we're looking at Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl champion, is going to be taking his talents to the NFC North, not to the Bears, no. He has 15 losses against another NFC North opponent, the Packers. Back when Rodgers and him were still in the same division, yeah, he lost 15 times to them. So he's going to Green Bay. It's been a while since we've seen a quarterback go to the Chiefs, but yeah, they're not done yet, okay? Lamar has won a lot in his career, but there's one team he hasn't quite been able to beat that often, okay? 5 losses to the Chiefs. So he's going to be their new QB1. I don't even know what to say. Like they're not done yet. If you're a Chiefs fan, you guys have been spoiled beyond belief. I mean, look at all these quarterbacks you've collected. 15 losses to Kansas City. I mean, look at this. How many?
Jesus Christ.
Enough is enough. Derek Carr is headed to Kansas City. Luckily, that's the last of them. Okay, no more quarterbacks are headed to Kansas City. Geno is going to stay in his division. His only playoff start ended in bad fashion against a division opponent, the San Francisco 49ers. He has 5 losses against them, and that's where he's going. Speaking of Seattle quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, back when he was on the Seahawks, didn't do so hot against one opponent, the Los Angeles Rams. Even back when they were called St. Louis, he was losing to them a lot, man. 14 losses against the Rams. Texans have collected quite a few quarterbacks of their own, so Stroud has been pretty successful, but he does have 3 losses against the Baltimore Ravens, including 1 in the playoffs. Levis has 2 losses against 3 teams, but is 0-2 against 2 of them. So we're going to use point differential from those losses. He's -6 against the Colts, but -24 against the Jaguars. So he's going to Jacksonville. And then finally, Minnesota has collected a few quarterbacks of their own, but now they have to give away Sam Darnold. Now he has 4 losses against 2 teams, but is 0-4 against the Pats and 1-4 against the Dolphins. So he's going back to the AFC East. New England is his new home. All right, so now it's time for me to go ahead and adjust every team's depth chart. Perfect time to like the video if you have not already. Can we get to maybe 55 likes or even 23? I mean, that'd be awesome. Bills get the 1 seed in the playoffs with Mahomes leading away. His former team, the Chiefs, get the 2 seed. Chargers, Ravens, Steelers, Jets, and Texans make it in that conference. The Niners, with Jared Goff, get the 1 seed. Lions, his former team, with Jordan Love leading away, get the 2 seed. The Panthers, Eagles, Vikings, Bucks, and Packers all make make it? Which teams are you shocked did not make it to the playoffs? We're going to check the stats so you remember where each quarterback is. Tyson Bagent, more touchdowns than INTs. At least he could say that. Same with Jake Browning. Mahomes, 40-8 ratio. His best season since his last MVP season. Wilson, again, more touchdowns than INTs. Same with Deshaun Watson. Hurts, not the best season. 18 INTs. I expect them to take care of the football more. Clayton Tune had less INTs. Same with Bo Nix. On the Chargers, Lamar, 51-6 ratio. Best season we've seen so far. Almost an 80% completion percentage in Kansas City. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Joe Flacco didn't do the best, but he did better than Mariota. First time we've seen someone with less touchdowns than INTs. Second time is Kirk Cousins on the Cowboys. Huntley, 3 more touchdowns than INTs. Jaden Daniels, pretty decent on the Eagles. 16 INTs though. Thought he would have less than that. Penix, him and Daniels are both rookies, so we'll let it slide. Goff went crazy on the Niners, 43-5 ratio, but he's a really good quarterback. I mean, we already knew that. Tommy DeVito didn't do so hot in New York. Will Levis on the Jags. Tyrod did okay in New York. Look at Jordan Love, 47-8 ratio, 4,700 yards. It has to be like a top 3 season we've seen so far. Dak Prescott did okay in Green Bay. The Red Rifle did alright in Carolina. Darnold, 30-8 ratio. Really good season from him. Ritter, 25-20 ratio. Kyler, only 1 more touchdown and interception. Not sure it's getting into him. Burrow did not throw that much. 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, but he had almost 4,000 yards. So I'm guessing Henry just stole a lot of touchdowns like a Jameis. You know he's going to sling that rock. 41 touchdowns and only 19 interceptions, man. That eye surgery was huge for him. Sam Howell, only 1 more touchdown and interception. Justin Fields, 22-15. Lawrence did his thing in Houston. With all those playmakers, maybe he can still be that franchise quarterback, man. He just needs a better supporting cast. Rudolph did decent on the Titans. Rodgers above average in Minnesota. Here are the league leaders. Lamar with the most passing yards. Love, Mahomes, Winston, and Goff rounded out the top 5. Lamar also had the most touchdowns. Love, Goff, Winston, Mahomes, the same 5. So yeah, they definitely showed out for their teams. Most interceptions though, Kyler. I'm actually surprised. I thought he would take care of the football a little bit more than that. Best completion percentage, Lamar. So a triple crown for him. I'll be shocked if he does not win MVP after the season he had. Let's take a look at the rushing stats. Jacobs with the most rushing yards, and it was not even close. Jones, Pacheco, Najee, Kenneth Walker also in that top 5. There are all the people that's also in that top 5. Burrow, wait, what? Oh my God. Are my eyes deceiving me? 21 rushing touchdowns. That's insane. Lamar never had that many. No wonder why he only had 17 passing. So he might be the MVP. What? 21? 3 more than Derrick Henry. I honestly cannot believe it. And he had what? No fumbles too? Receiving wise, Amon-Ra, most yards. Kupp still has something left in the tank. Ayuk, Olave, Jordan Addison in the top 5. There's everyone that had at least 1,000 yards receiving. Amon-Ra had the most receptions. Wait a minute. He might have had a triple crown. Looking at his touchdowns, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat that. Yeah, we have 2 triple crowns in this season. First Lamar, and then Amon-Ra. 26. I think that's a record. New NFL record. And I think
Burrow has the QB record
for most rushing touchdowns in a season by a quarterback. So just record-setting seasons all over the place. Defense, let's see if there's any records being set. Devin Lloyd, most tackles. 26 tackles for a loss from Chris Jones. That's insane. Not sure if it's a record, but it's probably up there. And then TJ Watt, I think is a half sack shy, or maybe that beats the record. 23 in one season. He also had an interception to go along with it. Chris Jones is right behind him. Then Aiden Hutchinson, but Drew Phillips with 9 INTs. Terrell and Devin Lloyd with 7. So Lloyd might win DPOY. Let's go ahead and check. Near the top of the rankings in both tackles and interceptions. MVP goes to Lamar. Burrow only got 4th behind Goff and Love. So yeah, those seasons were pretty freaking good. Amon-Ra got top 10. That's what you love to see. A non-quarterback in the top 10. Everyone else is of course a QB. AFC OPOY goes to Burrow. So at least he won something. DPOY goes to to TJ Watt. Devin Lloyd ends up third behind Chris Jones. Can't really be mad at that. They had great seasons as well. NFC DPOY goes to Hutchinson, and then OPOY to Amon-Ra. All right, let's go straight to the Super Bowl. See which one of these quarterbacks that went to the team they lost to the most can take their new team to the Super Bowl. We have Jaden Daniels and the Eagles taking on Mahomes and the Bills. Burrow and the Ravens were one game away. Same with Goff and the Niners. But the two teams that rose above the rest, Philly and Buffalo, are battling it out in the Super Bowl. The Bills defense, when healthy, I'll still continue to say it, one of the best in the league, man. James Cook also very underrated running back. Mahomes off the play action, going to his arch nemesis, Cooper DeJean with the INT, man. He has to stop throwing his way in Super Bowls. It does not end up going well. Daniels on a run, gets the first score of the game that Dallas got her. I think he's already one of the best in the NFL. And Mahomes obviously is one of the best in the league. You know, I wasn't celebrating the Super Bowl until it was like 34-0. When Smitty caught that long bomb from Hurts, I wasn't celebrating because I know Mahomes, as good as he is, he can come back. He's had crazy comebacks before, so I knew it wasn't over, but I did not expect defense to play that well. I'll be honest. Like, I knew they were good, but that good against a quarterback that's that good, I did not expect that to happen. Speaking of good defense, man, Greg Rousseau with the sack right there, holding them to 3 points later in the second quarter. 10-7 ball game, less than 50 seconds left in the first half. Mahomes tries to go Cooper's way again. When will he learn, man? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, shame on Mahomes for continuing to go his direction. But if you're Daniels in this offense, you have to get touchdowns. The Eagles knew that, so they started scoring touchdown after touchdown. Field goals were not going to do it. They would have kept Mahomes in the game, and you know, obviously that did not happen because this guy, Saquon Barkley, you know, he didn't have the greatest game in the Super Bowl, but he was the main focus of the Chiefs defense. So he did his job throughout the season to make sure that he would be the focal point. And I thought Mahomes would do this more often. I was waiting for him to start taking off. I was like, okay, second quarter, here we go. Third quarter, okay, he's going to start running. He just didn't run. Like, I did not expect him to have that few rush attempts because the pass wasn't working. So I was like, okay, he's going to start scrambling. And it just never happened. So, hey, man, credit to him in this game. They scrambled, but it was too little too late. 14-23, Jaden Daniels went to the team that's beaten him the most and helped them hoist the Lombardi. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one.
'Cause I'm on one, ay, number one, ay, I'm the one, yeah, getting it done, ay, yeah, it's one of them ones, yeah, roll one up.